Welcome back to GB News. I have got that breaking news to bring to you. So at the polling stations in Gorton and Denton, they have watchers. They have people who are there to observe, to make sure that everything is running smoothly and everything is legal. Now, the Electoral Commission have just revealed this. Today, we have seen concerningly high levels of family voting in Gorton and Denton. This is where families go in en masse and they tell their relatives how to vote. OK? It's not allowed. Based on our assessment of today's observations, we have seen the highest levels of family voting in any election in our 10-year history of observing elections in the UK. That is an absolutely extraordinary revelation, and frankly, it casts doubt over, well, the legitimacy of the result. And I think we all can probably hazard a guess as to the idea that I'll be very surprised if a load of the families were turning up with their families in tow, telling them that they all had to go and vote Reform. But anyway, we'll wait and see what happens there. So we are going to go straight, actually, to our Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood, because there has been some big breaking news in the Gorton and Denton by-election, and it involves family voting. I mean, allegations, basically, that this is, in a way, the most corrupt by-election in modern British history. I'm going to go straight to Tom. Tom, go on, tell us more, please, mate. Yeah,
Patrick, only two groups of people are allowed to be inside polling stations other than those running the elections and the voters. Those are the police and a group called Democracy Volunteers. Now, for 10 years, Democracy Volunteers have checked the integrity of our elections here at home and overseas as well. They've released an extraordinary statement, some of which you've read out this evening, from the Democracy Volunteers group. They say that they have seen the highest levels of family voting that have ever been seen by this group in their decade-long history observing British elections. Family voting is when the integrity of a secret ballot is compromised by members of the family either going into the booth alongside another family member, telling another family how to vote, or talking about the vote within the polling station with that family, compromising that crucial element of a British election, which is, of course, the secret ballot. Now, the numbers here are that in 15 out of 22 polling stations, there was family voting observed. Now, there were 32 cases of family voting observed, but that doesn't sound like a lot, but you've got to remember that they only sample a small number of votes. So that's 32 out of 545 observations of votes. So if you do some quick maths, that's more than 10%, I think, of the votes that were observed were in some way affected by family voting, which is a fairly extraordinary statistic to be talking about. We're talking about very, very high levels of family voting, which of course is not just wrong and frowned upon, it's against the law. There was an Act of Parliament passed in 2023 to deal with this growing problem in British elections, to deal with the integrity of our ballots, the secrecy of those ballots, the Election Integrity Act, and it looks like there have been multiple cases of that integrity of that secret ballot being breached this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, lots to unpack here. First thing, Tom, do you have any idea what the potential repercussions of this are? Do they have to have the election again? Do they have to vote again? Do people get prosecuted? What happened?
It will give grounds for a potential loser of this election to challenge the election's result. Now, it's been very rare that people have challenged the results of elections in British history. In fact, there was a case of a Conservative MP in 1997 who did that. The election was run again and he lost by even more than he lost in the first time, because it's fairly rare to challenge the outcome of an election, and very often the voters in a particular constituency don't like being made to vote again. So there's a checkered history of the likelihood of these things actually going ahead. But yes, there are processes by which a losing candidate can challenge the validity of an election, particularly if it's close, and particularly if events like this seem to have happened and are confirmed to have happened.
OK, right, no, just wait, Tom, you are going to be live all the way through the night here for us, are you?
We absolutely are. We're going to be live not just from this studio here in London. We'll, of course, be live in DC as well from 12 till 2, but we're expecting that result to come around 4 o'clock. Do stay tuned. We'll have all of the latest twists and turns from the count itself and from our panel here in the studio as well, all throughout the night.
Yeah, look, Tom, thank you very, very much. Tom Harwood, their Deputy Political Editor. Huge breaking news, that. So, essentially, well, massive supposed essentially it's election fraud, isn't it?
But the interesting thing is, what are the repercussions? Because as Tom said, this has affected, and it's on the internet as well, 68% of polling stations, affecting 12% of votes cast across the election. Now, 12% is going to be highly material here, of course it is.
Absolutely.
But the interesting thing is, there was also family voting in Runcorn and Helsby, which affected 1% of the votes cast in 12% of polling stations. Now, that would also have changed the result, because it was such a narrow result. So why wasn't there a challenge then? And would there be a challenge now, but from the Greens?
Yeah.
Or
well, when you look at the
Labour?
latest polls, it's a three-way, not quite a tie, but basically, right? It's like 1% in it for the Greens, Labour and Reform. So if you see about the family voting here, and the fact that it's affected, they believe, at least 12% of the vote.
Yeah.
That is the election right there. I'm sorry, but they're going to have to redo this thing.
I mean, it's an absolutely shocking statistic, but I think elections being rerun is something which they will avoid at all costs. I mean, the upheaval and the cost of it, and then how are they going to guarantee that it's not going to happen again in the rerun of the election? I think the only way that you stop this is that you make absolutely clear to those volunteering at the polling booths that if you see any of this happening, you stop it in its tracks right there. They can't go and fine, figure out exactly who these people were and fine all of the people all of their, say, husbands that did this to their wives individually. I think the thing that really bugs me here is that you've got so many people in the Green Party who will call themselves feminists, yet the people they've rallied to come out and support them and vote for them are people in households where the women are not even given enough autonomy to decide who they're going to vote for in an election.
All right. Well, look, Matthew, here's what most people don't realise. Your personal data isn't just floating around. It's being bought and sold every single day by data brokers. That means employers, strangers, scammers, and even criminals can access it. And that's how identity theft, fraud, and harassment starts. Now, sure, you could try removing it yourself, but it takes hours of forms and emails, and even then, it usually pops right back up. That's why this video is brought to you by Incogni. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and demands your information is deleted from their databases, and they keep on doing it to make sure it stays gone. And they've just launched an unlimited plan with custom removals. So if your info appears on some random website, you can paste the link and their privacy team will personally work to get it taken down. It's simple. Click the link in the description, create your account, give permission, and they handle the rest. Head to incogni.com/GBnews. And with the code GBNews, you can get a huge 60% off an annual plan. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code now. It works out at less than a coffee a month. It's also totally risk-free for 30 days. Take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. And a big thanks to them for supporting the channel. It is squeaky bum time in Gorton and Denton, isn't it?
It's a squeaky bum time in this entire country, I think.
Yeah.
This is indicative of what the country will be, what our future is.
Go on, why? Why is it so important for you? What's going on?
Because it shows basically that we have a sort of Labour, arguably a spent force, and it shows that we are moving to a sort of polarisation of politics where most people now don't think that the regular parties will get it done, whatever get it done means for that particular individual or family. And this is where we're moving to. Yeah,
let me just give you a couple of reminders of some of the stuff that's taken place during this election campaign. I've got some clips for you here. So this was all the stuff that happened during the campaign. Let's go to the first one. This is, of course, in relation to the Green Party.
There needs to be a sea of red anti-League posters in this hall. If you want to get fed,
Sorry, that was not the Green Party. That was in relation to Labour. That was a kind of quote-unquote scandal that happened with the Labour Party, where they were accused of basically saying that people would only get fed if they held up a Labour sign. So that was that. We've got another clip for you here. Well, the Green Party obviously decided, as Catherine Forster was saying there, to really go down the Muslim vote route, specifically over Gaza, to the point where they even produced, through kind of other sources, some form of literature which basically said to people who are of the Islamic faith that you can still vote for the Greens even if you disagree with them on certain other policies. Some of those policies, I would imagine, will be things like legalising crack cocaine and heroin, I think prostitution as well, and also being relatively pro the LGBTQ plus AI, whatever else it is, community. So there was that. We do have a clip here of quite an extraordinary moment that took place during a BBC kind of debate that they had, and it was Matt Goodwin, who's the Reform Party candidate, and talking to the Green Party candidate, Hannah Spencer, and this was in relation to what went on about the Manchester Arena bombing. Now listen to this.
It is irresponsible to tar everybody with the same brush. And I have taught, as so many people in Greater Manchester will do, and I will probably get quite emotional about this, about that feeling that we all had straight after the Manchester terror attacks, of how horrendous it felt that happened in our city, that children were murdered at a concert. They were murdered at a concert, and now you are using that to further and fuel division in our society.
You never asked why these things are happening.
What we did after the terror attacks was we came together and we stuck up for each other.
But you've never asked why are those things happening?
Of course we have.
Why are they happening?
Of course we have, because people like you are dividing people.
So I'm responsible for the Manchester Evening News Arena bombing now?
That's not what I've just said.
Absolutely remarkable, isn't it? Again, like I'll just say, look at what you're seeing there on your screens. It's the count starting. And just whilst we're doing this, just to round us off, because Jeremy Corbyn, your party, I mean, today he was announced as the leader of your party.
Yes.
So Magic Grandpa beat Zara Sultana.
2-1 in the way that it's a slightly weird way they did it, but that's effectively what happened.
To become the leader of Jezbollah. Your party, sorry, but anyway, he threw. Sorry, gosh, it's okay. And just to reiterate what Nigel Farage has said, and these are Nigel Farage's words. He's tweeted this in the last 40 minutes or so. Incidents of family voting in Gorton and Denton reached the highest levels of any election in the past 10 years, according to Sky News. This is deeply concerning and raises serious questions about the integrity of the democratic process in predominantly Muslim areas. Of course, by the way, I will just say that Adnan Hussein, who is an independent MP for Blackburn, has said in response to that this constant vilification and scapegoating of a minority community has to stop. We don't know who these people voted for. We don't know exactly who they are. It's obviously just based on what is being said from officials who were there. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously a huge concern.
Absolutely. One of the things that I think is most interesting is what the makeup is going to be of the Reform voters. They've obviously done very well. They're either first or second. Now, if the Tories came fifth in the last election, that means that a lot of these Reform voters are former Labour voters. And that's a big deal. Yeah, that could be something that's very indicative of what we're going to be seeing in a few years across this country. So I think that we should also have a look at where these Reform voters are coming from and what their makeup is.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I'll tell you what, it's a fast-moving picture here, because some of the bookies in the last half an hour have now put Reform in third, behind Labour and the Greens. So that's interesting.
I don't think you can get away from the fact that this is a disaster for Keir Starmer. I mean,
unless he wins.
Unless he wins, but I think that is looking increasingly unlikely. And according to
slightly less unlikely according to the bookies, but
yeah, but according to people who were there on the ground, and it is only on Twitter, but people are saying that the Labour Party vote appears to have collapsed today. Now, OK, of course, it's still very early days, but the point remains that the reason the Greens have had this opportunity to break through and have appealed to so many people is because the Labour government has been so disastrous, and so Keir Starmer is so unpopular.
The Greens weren't campaigning against the rise in national insurance, or they were campaigning on Gaza, and I'm proud that the Labour Party has stood by its principles on Gaza, and not given in to any particular sectarian call, and it's taken, in my view, the right stand, and frankly, one that the Tories...